Welcome to this vlog. This is the end of a long night spent in front of the computer working. Lots of stuff going on this past few days and weeks as I've decided to change the way we work on the game from being, as you saw before, a very discreet, very behind the scenes kind of thing, and be a little more open and public, and also change the process towards working less on big experimental updates and more on small gameplay increments. So as you can see behind me, the sun is about to rise. The camera's exposure is kind of making it look brighter than it is. So I'm going to move out of the screen and you will see what it's like behind me. Yeah, so it's not all bad. The indie dev life is not all bad when you live in such a beautiful place. I don't think I would have been able to make it if I had lived in a regular city. But then again, the entire game is about an open world of nature and awe and stuff like that. So I guess living in that kind of environment creates that kind of inspiration. So yeah, like I was saying, we are now focusing more on small gameplay increments and updates because we're done basically with the experimentation, the whole research and development aspect of the game that dominated development for all those years. And it was both the challenge and the fun of those years was to come up with all those new, never seen before systems and mechanics, and explore them, dive deep into them, all the while both learning traditional game development and finding new solutions to old problems, all new problems, due to being an indie person without a big studio behind you and without a lot of resources. So it was a very interesting number of years, but something had to change if we were to release something and not just keep working, you know, on experiments and trying concepts out and trying to formulate, let's say, gameplay ideas and game design innovations into actual programs, so to speak. So we're changing that. We've been changing that for a little bit. We still spend a lot of time on combat because combat is a feature you can't really do without. I mean, I didn't mean to, and I don't mean for Winterfall to be combat centric, but at the same time, I enjoy fighting in RPGs a lot. And if there is no good fighting, the RPG suffers, in my opinion. You don't have to have it, but I know I enjoy it too much to just not want to really make it good. And the way we are dealing with this is that I guess for all the development that we did, the combat mechanics and the combat aspects are probably 1/3 of, maybe more, of all the work that we ever did, and we kept going back over it and over again, and now we are still improving things from controller functions, combat mechanics, events, and all the stuff that goes around it. So the most, let's say, complete or the most advanced gameplay that we have right now is the combat. And my philosophy was always that if combat is good, it's a good showcase, it's a good example of what can be done with the other stuff. So if you have shitty combat, maybe, you know, it's so direct and visceral that I guess a game that cannot deliver good combat is likely to not really be able to deliver on other aspects. It's not always true, obviously, but in the case of something like Winterfall, it has to be true. So we are working on that quite a lot, but also expanding the mechanics that deal with survival and stuff, you know, pertaining to the character's life and interactions with the world. So we will be presenting that in a build that I intended to actually release yesterday, but we have to keep it in the oven for a while to make sure that everything is ready. We've been working on game modes as well. You can find all that on the blog. I'm not going to get to go over it again. What I mostly meant to talk about was how how you work on those things, and how you spend so many sleepless nights. Like today, I haven't slept, and the sun is about to rise. So I guess I'll greet it. Maybe I'll greet it with you guys. Doesn't seem like it's ready yet. But yeah, you spend so many sleepless nights, and you deal with so much, and you try to solve so many problems, new problems, old problems, eternal problems, all kinds of stuff. And a night like this, I will typically work on game design, work on world lore, work on QA, that is quality assurance, that is testing the things that we did, and then looking for bugs and glitches and things that don't work. And I will be trying to find ways to better tackle the next challenges, not open cans of worms, because game development is a lot of cans of worms. Like, you want to work on this specific aspects of the game, of this specific aspect of a system. You think it's going to be a couple of fixes and it's going to be ready to roll, and you don't realize that you open a can of worm, and you're going to be spending like 20 hours or something like, or maybe more, fixing the problems that just erupted from this little thing that you touched. So sometimes it's very thankless, to be honest with you. It's not exactly the most fun job you could imagine. I mean, I love doing it because it's great mental stimulation, it's problem solving, and I really enjoy that immensely. But I can't say that it's a blast in the sense of it's really fun. It's very, very, very frustrating, and it requires, I guess, a lot of discipline. I mean, if there ever was a job where having a sense of delayed gratification was important, it has to be game development and game production, because you're rarely going to get satisfaction from the thing that you're working on right now. You usually might get satisfaction much later on, and things tend to coalesce into one whole, especially in a game like that with so much complexity. Things tend to coalesce only much later on. So you have to be patient, basically. You have to be patient, and sometimes you also have to realize that you made a bad decision, like 40 hours ago, 50 hours ago, or maybe more, and all the work that you did after that has to go to the trash. So it's really, I mean, when you think about it, like, you play games and you're thinking this feature could be better, or they should implement this or that. And let me tell you one thing, I have learned from working on this game to be really far more understanding with existing games than I ever was. Now I know from the other side what goes on in the development of a game, and I understand that it's far more complex than anybody thinks. Unless you've worked in this field, it's really, really complex. And all kinds of stuff can get in the middle of the process. Bad ideas, of course, lack of resources, bad communication, lack of foresight, bad luck, Murphy's Law, all kinds of things can just come in and lay waste to your best intentions. And if there is one thing that is not missing, I can assure you of that, if there is one thing that is not missing in the games industry, it's good ideas. But, the means to properly pursue good ideas, that's something else. I mean, in my case, I'm independent, so there is nobody above me to tell me what to do, and I always have paid personally for the time and the resources and the decisions that I make. So nobody is going to tell me you can't go in that direction, because then we would be over budget and things wouldn't work. When things go like that, what I just do, and what I've always done anyway, is just to divert resources away from myself and put them instead into the game. So I will eat rice, I guess, to make sure that we can continue the work, and that frees you to go as far down the rabbit hole as you want, but it can be dangerous. Rabbit holes are really deep, and you never know where you're going to end up. But yeah, that's a feature of being independent, is that you can do whatever you want. It carries its own risk, but if I were, I guess, in a bigger studio, or in a studio at all, making something like Winterfall would be impossible, because there would be too many parameters preventing me from being able to pursue the concept, to make the game. And like I said before in the previous vlog, I find that creative works have their own DNA, and you have to dig into it and reveal it. It's not just making what you want to make, it's also making what the logic of the whole thing requires you to make. And so when you have big budgets and release schedules and big teams and managers and so on, well, you won't have as much time to get into the DNA of things. You're going to have to release something that works, something that is fun, and something that is going to make money. So it's one of the luxuries of working independently. And I'm saying luxuries because typically luxury is very expensive. And so this is very expensive. And, the whole tagline is that I made the game that I wanted to make and that nobody was making. And that in making it, I understood why nobody's making it. And that's exactly it. I mean, it's just a luxury. Everything is a luxury. So yeah, we're working on bringing together all the mechanics that we've built over the years. You can see a whole bunch of them on the Trello board in the dev snippets, and also explained and listed. So there's a lot of work in there, and we are working on bringing it together into specific game modes, and eventually more and more open game modes. So right now we have a gauntlet mode in the combat build where you have challenges to overcome. We have a dev sandbox where it's just the systems, that we have built, and you can interact with them, but it's not very public. So we're going to be we're working that. I'm talking about that in the latest dev blog. And we will be implementing survival with the custom homemade survival logic, which is not exactly going to be like, if you don't eat, you die, because survival games already do that, and that's not exactly the philosophy of Winterfall. Eventually, of course, we're going to implement the campaign, but campaign mode is going to come last. It's the most complex. There is so much in there. There is a whole strategy overlay or underlay, so much to do. It's not so much like story and so on. It's more like strategy games. Like you have this end goal of yours, which is to win in some way or other, and this shifting dynamic world where stuff keeps happening and the world answers to what you do and so on. So campaign is going to come last, but we're going to keep building stuff that way. So it's one of those nights, like I said, you have to think of all those things. You have to solve the problems that you have. The latest is we've been revamping hits, timing in combat. Right now, when you perform an attack, the mechanics were so that when you use the input for the attack is fired, but that causes a discrepancy because the animation and the attack, the actual impact event, are not synced. So what we're doing now is just resyncing all the attacks to the specific animation frames, expanding, like I said before, the survival, health mechanics, things like that. So it's a lot of work, and it's different directions in which to think, because if you think about combat and attack frames and timings, and at the same time you think about survival and camping and all this stuff, well, it's very different logics and very different concepts. But that's what makes this project what it is. It's all over the place. It's many things at the same time, all connected together. Another funny thing, I might show you that in a blog at some point, is you have to keep track of the logic regularly, because when you have such a complex and deep project, you can easily lose track of the overall logic. So I keep rewriting the logic of the project into flowcharts, and I keep, remaking those flowcharts, new versions of the old flowcharts, to always stay up to date on the logic, to always reformulate and resimplify the logic. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. You have to be passionate about it, but it's pretty fun. Now I think the sun is rising behind me, so I'm going to get out of the way and let you take a look. Actually, still not, but there is a nice little island behind me, so that's nice. So yes, that would be it for now. That would be it for now for this little vlog. I'll come back to you with another one soon, and I will tell you more about what we're working on and how we're working on it. Right now I'm a little bit frustrated because I always wanted to implement spear and shield, and I'm starting to get into that, but I find that I'm not satisfied with the animations we have, and there's a whole bunch of work involved in designing the combos and motions, and making sure that they interpolate properly, that you can flow cleanly from one animation into the next, especially if you want to combo attacks, and that's not always easy, and that always also requires a lot of work and rework. And right now, as we speak, and probably in the next build that we're going to release, there are transitions and things that I'm not very happy about. It all works, but it doesn't always look as good as I would like it to look, and it's another one of the challenges of this project. I mean, it couldn't just be some kind of low-key 2D or whatever. I have this thing where it has to look good, it has to feel good, it has to animate well, it has to be ideally motion captured, because that's where the best animation is, unless you are with some stellar animators, which is not the case at the moment. I don't have access to top tier animators. I wish I did, but I don't yet. But motion capture is still fantastic. So it's a lot of work to also make sure that you have animations that work and do what you need them to do, and also look good and are not stock stuff. So many things to care about, many things to keep in mind, many things to worry about, and that makes it so that you spend all your nights on the computer working, solving problems, trying to prevent new problems from showing up, and all those things. So I'm a little bit tired, but I wanted to make this little vlog before going, and I'm probably going to go back to work for a little bit, and then I'll catch some sleep. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you soon.